Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erin Sullivan. Let's get right into our top 6 headlines at 6. Omaha's police chief says Bud Crawford was not targeted by officers who pulled him over last weekend, just hours after the city held a parade in his honor. We'll break down what we learned today, coming up in a few minutes. The NU Board of Regents met today in Omaha, hearing comments and answering questions on the proposed $43 million in budget cuts across the university system. Some affected by those proposed cuts call them an embarrassment. We'll get into why they feel that way just ahead. After a third failed vote in the Senate, lawmakers in D.C. adjourned until Monday. That extends this government shutdown through at least the weekend, as both sides dig in for what could be a lengthy shutdown. And breaking tonight, Hamas accepting some elements of President Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza. The group says they are willing to give up power and release all remaining hostages, but they do want to negotiate other details of the plan. Also breaking tonight, Sean Diddy Combs is sentenced to more than 4 years behind bars. The disgraced artist is convicted of transporting former girlfriends for prostitution. He was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. We are less than an hour away from a heavyweight volleyball matchup from Happy Valley as the #1 ranked Huskers take on defending national champions number 16 Penn State. It's a revenge tour for head coach Danny Busboom Kelly as she coached Louisville, who lost the national championship to the Nittany Lions last season. We are on first alert for a toasty end to the work week.